And this one is a competitive racing game where players are trying to complete laps around the board, avoiding different traps and monsters while trying to collect 3 different colored tinsies, which are small fairy-like creatures that are going to be trapped in cages. The game uses a modular board with all sorts of different obstacles, and players are going to be using deck building and cards in order to take their actions to move around the board. Players do get to play as the different characters from the video game, but each of them do start with the same set of cards, so these differences are purely aesthetic at first, but players will be drafting cards at the start of each round in order to get different and more powerful cards into their deck, adding some more strategy as well as some more asymmetry. But the game plays over a series of rounds with each player choosing 2 cards from their hand simultaneously, and each of the cards is going to be determining the amount of movement that you get, ranging from 2 to 9 spaces, as well as any additional special abilities like jumping, crawling, flying, or even slapping enemies out of your way. The reason that the players do this simultaneously is because these cards also determine the initiative that you have for that round, which is going to affect your turn order. The player who has the highest initiative value is going to be the player that goes first, and then the movement is based on the cumulative values of the 2 cards that you picked. You'll be able to move that many spaces forward on the board if you're able to do so. But like I said, there will be all sorts of traps and obstacles and monsters that can slow you down, and there are also those tinsies in the cages that you are trying to acquire. This is where that jumping, crawling, flying, and slapping all come into play, because you're going to be using those in order to manipulate your position out on the board as you move forward, and also to potentially interact with any of those obstacles. Slapping a monster out of your way also allows you to draw a random action token, which you'll be able to hold on your own personal board here. And these action tokens essentially act like free actions that you'll be able to spend later in order to perform whatever that token indicates. Players can also slap their opponents in order to send them back a few spaces, but you can defend against this if you were able to collect any hearts. After all the players have had their turn, we move into the end of the round that you really do want to plan for, because it's at this point where there's going to be various missiles moving across the board. These, of course, are going to harm any of the players that get in their way, so you do want to plan to end your turn in a space that isn't going to be intercepted by a missile. But also, this is another opportunity to make even more use out of your slapping in this game, because if you're able to slap one of your opponents into the line of one of those missiles, then you're going to be getting a lot of value out of that slap. But the game continues like this until a player is able to collect those 3 different colored tinsies and then also complete their current lap and make it to the finish line. And if they're able to do that first, they win the game. And if you want to check this one out, I will have it linked down below.